Okay, so good evening to you all, wherever you are at the moment. Very warm welcome to the Padmaloka Shrine Room, blazing with light and colour, and Aloka's animated images. Very good to have you here. I don't know where you're coming from. I can't see a screen. But I trust there are people out there. You're actually joining a retreat. We've just started a retreat, just in the last half an hour, and we're running a retreat here at Padmaloka called the Buddha's Victory, and we're going to be exploring, the enlightenment of the Buddha. So a very warm welcome to you if you're not on the retreat, but you're joining us here for this special occasion. And the occasion is, of course, the Buddha's enlightenment. Maybe before I say anything about that, you should just get the opportunity to at least see where we are. So my name's Vidyadhaka, and I'm here with many of the Padmaloka community and a London guest. And we're here in the shrine room, as you can see. So maybe Arvid can pan around and just to give you an idea of the shrine room here, particularly the people, but also particularly the images that we're surrounded by. So I hope you can see that. So you probably can see Sutra, Stiramanas, Padmavajra. We're surrounded by, not only Aloka's images, but the images that many of you have produced through the Buddha Tile project, and particularly you can see that back wall very, very full of colour and life. The Aloka's bodhisattvas surrounded by Buddha tiles. Sanganista, David, Joris, Satyakirti and Arvid are behind the camera. So just to give you a sense of where you are, where we are. Good. Thank you, Arvid. Okay. So we're here. We're here to together to in a way make the focus of our attention the Buddha, and bring to mind that the Buddha gained enlightenment. We're here to celebrate that, and we're celebrating it because it happened. If it didn't happen, we wouldn't be celebrating it. We're celebrating it because it happened. We don't know exactly what it is that happened, but the Buddha's enlightenment happened. He achieved it, he realized it, he became it, it happened, and it's what we value, isn't it? And we're coming together to make conscious, or make more conscious, the deeply significant value that fact of the Buddha's enlightenment has had on our lives and the lives of many millions of people over time. And I have just been reflecting that, I suppose we can think we can even take it for granted. We can take it for granted. And one thing that I was reflecting on, really to try and see some of the significance of the Buddha's enlightenment, was to think about, in a way, reflect on its absence. Well, if you think about the absence of the enlightenment of the Buddha, okay, let's just imagine that. Okay, imagine it didn't happen. So imagine that period of time, that moment, that victory, that realization. Imagine that didn't happen. Just for a moment. If you work backwards from that. If that didn't happen, you wouldn't have had the attack of Mara, would you? You wouldn't have had that victory over Mara. So that's a hugely significant event that happened, or achievement. Without that, you also wouldn't have had the Buddha reflecting under the rose apple tree, for example. There wouldn't have been a decision to sit and stay, and the determination to gain enlightenment. You wouldn't have had the Buddha to be practicing ascetic practices. Well, he might have done, but he wouldn't have found a way out of them, presumably. You wouldn't have had the Buddha discerning the way forward after being with his teachers, or the Buddha to be being with his teachers. You wouldn't have had him in the jungle overcoming himself, overcoming fear. You wouldn't have had the going forth. You wouldn't have had the foresight. You wouldn't have had the noble quest. You would have just had, in a way, you'd have just had the palace life and the ignoble quest. Essentially, you'd have had no vision and no transformation. So that's just kind of looking backwards. But if you look forwards, of course, if the Buddha didn't gain enlightenment, there would have been no realization, there would have been no communication of any realization, and his decision to teach wouldn't have occurred. His five previous disciples, his five ascetic friends, would have been in the deer park practicing their ascetic practices, but the Buddha wouldn't have approached them. There would have been no communication of the Dharma. There would have been no teaching of the Dharma, no turning of the wheel. Kondanya would never have known about the Dharma, would never have known about the Buddha. Of course, then, no first disciples, no life of teaching the Dharma, no communication of the Dharma. And all the teachings that the Buddha has given wouldn't have existed. We wouldn't know about them. There would be no Buddhism in India, China, Tibet, Japan, Sri Lanka, and so forth. And we wouldn't know about the qualities of the enlightened mind. We just simply wouldn't know about it if the Buddha hadn't lived in the way that he did and gained enlightenment. We wouldn't know about wisdom and compassion and so forth. You might have the wheel of life, but you wouldn't have a Buddha in each realm. There would just be the realms without the Buddha. And more specifically for us, of course we wouldn't have Bhante, and of course we wouldn't have Ambedkar, and then it really starts to come home, doesn't it? So no Ambedkar, no Dr. Ambedkar. So there might have been conversions, there might have been mass conversions, but they wouldn't have been mass conversions to Buddhism. So what would they have been? And of course we wouldn't have had Bhante. Bhante would have, when he was reading the children's encyclopedia, he'd have read it, but there would have been no section on Buddhism. He wouldn't have come across the Diamond Sutra, the Sutra of Hui Ning. He wouldn't have gone forth himself. He wouldn't have stayed in Kalimpong and worked for the good of Buddhism. That wouldn't have happened. Dado Rinpoche wouldn't have seen Bhante on a guest house in Bodh Gaya. That wouldn't have come about. No Bodhisattva ordination, no initiation into the sadhanas, no English Sangha trust, no need to start a Buddhist order, a new Buddhist order, no ordination, no lineage of Kalyana Mitrata, preceptors, teachers, friends, no one for us to look up to in the way that we do, and of course no elucidation of the Dharma by Bhante. So no teachings like the centrality of going for refuge, no teachings like lifestyle being secondary. We wouldn't have going for refuge, we'd just have lifestyle. We wouldn't have the Bodhisattvas, the Buddhas, the teachers of the past, the teachers of the present. Again, we'd have no vision and no transformation, not in the way that we understand it now, today, in the way that the Buddha's enlightenment has touched our lives, just as it's touched the lives of millions of people. But it's also had an effect, a broader effect, hasn't it, in, don't know what you call it, in the world or in society. If you think of the influence of Buddhism in the arts, huge effect of Buddhism in the arts, particularly in Southeast Asia. The influence that the teachings of the Buddha have had on kings and queens and rulers over the centuries. It's difficult to know exactly what effect that has been, but very, very significant effect of the Buddha's influence in the world. And even all, if you think of all the kind of the Buddha figures that are on people's mantelpieces and in windows all over the world. I mean, they're dotted around, aren't they? When you walk around towns, you see them in people's windows. It stands for something, and that wouldn't be there. And so I think it's very, 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 very sobering to start to think about the absence of the Buddha's enlightenment, not just for ourselves, of course, but for many, many people that we know in many different countries, and how it would have affected not just individuals but civilizations without the enlightenment of the Buddha. So this evening we're coming together to celebrate the enlightenment of the Buddha because it happened. Incredible that it happened, and we're celebrating because it's a presence in our lives, and it's been a presence in our lives perhaps before we even knew anything about Buddhism. And for us, we've come into a much deeper sphere of influence of the Buddha and that fact of his enlightenment through our contact with Dr. Ambedkar and Bhante. So incredible, in a way, an incredible reason for celebration, and the presence and the fact of the Buddha's enlightenment in our lives and in the world. And just bringing to mind the incredible influence that the Buddha has had through that victory and that achievement. So what we'll do this evening is we'll perform a puja, and it'll be, of course, a sevenfold puja, and we'll have quite a few readings in it. So we'll hear, Sutra will read from the Lankavatara Sutra, Lalita Vistra Sutra, the voice of the Buddha. So we'll hear readings from the night of the Buddha's enlightenment, after he's gained enlightenment, and the first reflections and the first communications, and in a way the beginning of the influence of the Buddha's enlightenment in the world. We'll just hear those reflections from the Buddha. Slightly edited, but we'll listen to those, and they'll be interspersed as we go through the puja. And Padmavajra will chant or start the mantra for Shakyamuni after the worship section, and we'll make offerings here at Padmaloka. You do make offerings at your shrine, at your end, and we'll chant the refuges and precepts in unison, and we'll go through the puja, and and at the end, after the transference of merits and self-surrender, Stira Manas will begin another Shakyamuni mantra, and we'll chant that together, and we'll just let that die out, and when that dies out, we'll sit on for a little bit, and then I'll ring a few bells, and that'll be the end of the evening. So let's first of all salute the shrine. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Namah. Namo So we'll sit quietly for a few minutes, and I'll ring a bell, and we'll hear the first reading, the Buddha's one of his first reflections. So yeah, perhaps just sitting in meditation and bringing to mind the Buddha and the significance of his enlightenment on the world and on your life.
Having subdued the enemy and triumphed in battle, he remained seated, surrounded by parasols, standards, and unfurled banners, and entered into meditation. After having attained the first level of meditation, which is detached from desire, accompanied by observation and reflection, free from non-virtue and wrongdoing, and endowed with joy and pleasure that are born from tranquility, he remained steady. Letting go of observation and reflection, his purified concentration became one stream, and he attained the second level of meditation, which is accompanied by joy and pleasure, and which is produced from the samadhi that is free from observation and reflection. And the bodhisattva remains steady. Letting go of attachment to pleasure, he abided in the third level of meditation, equanimity, accompanied by awakened awareness, consciousness, and great joy, called by the Aryas the equanimity which dwells in great joy and mindfulness. After having attained the third level of meditation, free from pleasure, he remained steady. Letting go of joy, so that all previous pleasant and unpleasant feelings abated, he abided in the fourth level of meditation, where there is neither suffering nor pleasure, where equanimity and mindfulness are completely pure, and he remained steady. Abiding thus in equanimity, the mind of the Bodhisattva was completely pure, perfect, luminous, free from emotionality, free from all the fettering passions, supple, perfectly balanced, unwavering. At the first watch of the night, the Bodhisattva prepared his mind well and directed it carefully in order to bring forth the vision of wisdom which comes from the divine eye. With his perfectly pure divine eye, far surpassing the human eye, the Bodhisattva saw beings being born and passing away. He saw those of good birth, of bad birth, on good paths, on bad paths, the lowly and exalted, each proceeding according to the influence of his actions, and he understood it well. Ah, truly these beings obtain the fruit of their karma by bad use of their bodies, their minds and their speech, by disparaging the saints and by having false views. Beings fall into lower states at the time of their death and are reborn in the hells as a result of their karma. But those beings who made good use of their bodies, their speech and their minds, those who show respect to the saints and who have right views, are reborn in the happy states of men and gods as a result of their karma. And so, with the perfectly pure divine eye, far surpassing the human eye, the Bodhisattva saw beings born and passing away, from good births, from bad births, on good paths, on bad paths, the lowly and the exalted, each receiving the result commensurate with his actions. This is how, O monks, in the first watch of the night, the Bodhisattva cleared away the darkness and produced direct knowledge and clarity.
Sevenfold Puja. Worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
with all flowers pleasing and fragrant,
with all flowers pleasing and fragrant,
and with garlands skillfully woven.
and with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages,
I pay honour to the princes of the sages,
so worthy of veneration.
so worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense,
I envelop them in clouds of incense,
sweet and penetrating.
sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft,
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft,
and pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
and pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels,
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels,
festooned with golden lotus,
festooned with golden lotus,
on the paving sprinkled with perfume.
on the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakya Muni, Sadhu. 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 Muni, Muni,
Sadhu, Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, 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 Sadhu, Muni, Muni, Shakyamuni,
Abiding thus in equanimity, the mind of the Bodhisattva was completely pure, perfect, luminous, free from emotionality, free from all the fettering passions, supple, perfectly balanced, unwavering. At the middle watch of the night, in order to bring about the disappearance of suffering, in order to bring forth directly the knowledge of the vision and wisdom which remembers former lives, the Bodhisattva prepared his mind and directed it. He remembered his many previous lives, as well as those of other beings, in 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 4, 5, 10 births, in 20, 30, 40, 50 births, in 100 births, 1,000 births, 100,000 births, even in several hundreds of thousands of births, a koti of births, 100 kotis of births, 1,000 kotis of births, 100,000 kotis of births, 100,000 nayutas of kotis of births, many hundreds of kotis of births, in many thousands of kotis of births, many hundreds of thousands of kotis of births, many hundreds of thousands of nayutas of kotis of births, in births up to a kalpa of destruction, a kalpa of recreation, a kalpa of destruction and of recreation, several kalpas of destruction and recreation, recalling, I was such and such a person, my name was this, my race was this, my lineage this, my colour was this, The food I ate was such and such. This the span of life. This the length of time that I remained there. This was the happiness and unhappiness which I experienced. And then after leaving that life, I was born such and such a person, having passed on. I was born such and such a person. Having passed on, I was born here. He remembered exactly the places and circumstances of his own lives and those of all other beings. The mind of the Bodhisattva abided thus in equanimity, completely pure, perfect, luminous, free from emotionality, free from all the fettering passions, supple, perfectly balanced, unwavering. And in the last watch of the night, when the dawn appears, at the moment when the drum is sounded, in order to vanquish suffering and the source of suffering, and in order to manifest the vision of knowledge which destroys corruption, the Bodhisattva prepared his mind carefully and directed it well.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Siddharma.
To the Siddharma.
And to the excellent community.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Going for refuge. This very day.
This very day.
I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge.
To the powerful protectors.
To the powerful protectors.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas.
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sekaparam samadhyami, adinadana veramani sekaparam samadhyami, kamesu mechachara veramani sekaparam samadhyami, musavada veramani sekaparam samadhyami, suramelya majja pamadhatana veramani sekaparam samadhyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. Confession of faults. The evil that I have heaped up, through my ignorance and foolishness, evil in the world of everyday experience, as well as evil in understanding and intelligence, all that I acknowledge to the protectors, standing before them, with hands raised in reverence, and terrified of suffering, I pay salutations again and again. May the leaders receive this kindly. Just as it is with its many faults. What is not good, O protectors? I shall not do again.
There came to his mind, certainly this world is miserable, subject to birth, old age, sickness and death, to change of existence and rebirth. No one knows the means to escape this cycle, which is a great mass of suffering. Old age, sickness, death and the rest. Alas, What can put an end to this great mass of sufferings? No one knows. Then this came to the mind of the Bodhisattva. What by its very existence gives rise to old age and death? What is the conditional cause of old age and death? Then there came to his mind, since birth exists, old age and death come forth. The conditional cause of old age and death is birth. And so, monks, it came to the mind of the Bodhisattva, ignorance is the conditional cause of karmic dispositions. Karmic dispositions are the conditional cause of consciousness. Consciousness is the conditional cause of name and form. Name and form are the conditional cause of the 6 senses. The 6 senses are the conditional cause of contact. Contact is the conditional cause of feeling. Feeling is the conditional cause of craving. Craving is the conditional cause of grasping. Grasping is the conditional cause of existence. Existence is the conditional cause of birth. Birth is the conditional cause of old age, and death, grief, lamentation, suffering, pain, and despair. Thus does the great mass of suffering come forth. O monks, by fixing his mind on the source of suffering, on teachings never heard before, he produced wisdom, he produced vision, produced realization, great knowledge, prudence and understanding, and light came forth.
Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight.
I rejoice with delight
In the good done by all beings.
in the good done by all beings,
Through which they obtain rest.
through which they obtain rest,
With the end of suffering.
with the end of suffering.
May those who have suffered be happy.
May those who have suffered be happy.
I rejoice in the release of beings.
I rejoice in the release of beings
From the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
and the Buddha,
and the Buddha,
who are protectors.
who are protectors.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
and the teaching,
and the teaching,
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings,
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
and are the abode of welfare of all beings. O monks, during the last watch of the night, at the moment when the drum is sounded, in a single instant, the Bodhisattva, the great being, the holy being, the superior being, the magnificent being, leader of men, elephant of men, lion of men, chief among men, the hero of men, the best of men, the all-knowing being, the lotus of men, the white lotus of men, the being who carries a heavy load, the peerless charioteer of men, the one whose knowledge comes through the wisdom of the saints, the one who has gained understanding, attainments and vision, and who has manifested whatever is suitable. Through the wisdom that manifests all of those qualities in a single instant, the Bodhisattva attained Buddhahood, the complete, accomplished, unexcelled enlightenment, and obtained the three knowledges.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands.
Saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
So that life in this world does not grow dark. O monks, when the Tathagata became a perfect Buddha, the darkness and the shadows disappeared. Craving was purified, views changed, and fettering passions were shaken. The thorn was withdrawn, the knot untied. The banner of pride was overturned. The banner of the Dharma was unfurled. The inclinations were uprooted. The nature of the Dharma was understood. He reached the true end, entering reality, and understood well the sphere of the Dharma. The realms of beings were restored to proper balance. All positive things were praised. All lower things were rejected. All things not so established were understood. The character of all beings was observed, and the conduct of all beings was perfectly known. The remedy for the sickness of beings was well understood. The nectar of immortality was applied. The king of physicians manifested. The freedom from all suffering was set forth, establishing beings in the happiness of nirvana. The Tathagata himself was seated on the great throne of the king of the Dharma, for the means of arriving at complete deliverance was obtained. He entered into the city of omniscience, indivisible from the knowledge of the sphere of the Dharma. He joined with the truth and with all the Buddhas.
Heart Sutra. The Bodhisattva of compassion, when he meditated deeply, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas, and sundered the bonds that caused him suffering. Here then, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Feeling, thought and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. All things are by nature void. They are not born or destroyed, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So, in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought or choice, nor is there consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no colour, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even act of sensing, no ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance, no withering, no death, no end of them, nor is there pain or cause of pain, or ceasing pain, or noble path to lead from pain, not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in prajna wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, using this prajna wisdom, come to full and perfect vision. Hear then the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantra, the prajna paramita, whose words allay all pain. Hear and believe its truth. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhiswaha. Transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained,
May the merit gained
in my acting thus, go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
Go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
My personality throughout my existences.
My personality throughout my existences.
My possessions.
My possessions.
And my merit in all three ways.
And my merit in all three ways.
I give up without regard to myself.
I give up without regard to myself.
For the benefit of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
Just as the earth and other elements.
Just as the earth and other elements
are serviceable in many ways.
Are serviceable in many ways.
To the infinite number of beings.
To the infinite number of beings.
Inhabiting limitless space.
Inhabiting limitless space.
So may I become.
So may I become.
That which maintains all beings.
That which maintains all beings.
Situated throughout space.
Situated throughout space.
So long as all have not attained.
So long as all have not attained.
To peace.
To peace.
Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Mani Mani Mahamani 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 Shakyamuni